You most likely not believe this. There is existence of human beings in South Africa that dates back to billions, if not trillions of years ago. Old South Africa is unknown. We must all be able to have a conscience that is intrigued by the origins of civilizations. However, there are important aspects of South Africa's history that is so ancient and yet not well known. Because once it is known, it brings forth the evidence in terms of early human habitation that could cause the rewriting of our understanding of human origins as well as the earth. The prehistory of South Africa lasts from Middle Stone Age to about 17th century. Southern Africa was first reached by Homo sapiens before 130,000 years ago. That's what science says, and we are in dispute of that. So I want to look at a number of factors like the ancient geography and the matters of prehistory, the hidden history of the human race and indigenous South Africans. So South Africa is home to a diverse range of Bantu ethnic groups. We look at the origins of humans from our book Free From God, chapters 17 and 18, that comprehensively review the ancestors' revered home and the rise of the first original people. But geography touches on the Katons, and the Katons are also elaborated in our book Free From God. What is a Katon? A Katon is a large, stable portion of the continental crust that has remained relatively unchanged for billions of years. Katons are characterized by thick ancient lithosphere composed of igneous and metamorphic rocks, and these regions are typically found at the cores of the continents and are not largely affected by tectonic activity such as volcanic eruptions or earthquakes or sudden mountain buildings or cracks of the earth, but other geological features that affect other regions are only peripheral to these areas, because it is most likely that these areas are the most probable areas where human civilization occurred. These places are largely found in ancient Africa, specifically in South Africa and Zimbabwe, Kaapvaal Kraton, as well as the Pilbara Kraton, and in South India, in Madagascar, Antarctica, Zimbabwe and South Africa. These are areas that are causative for Africa to be at times called the mother continent. What is it about old South Africa that is unknown? It is very clear that it is probably that billions of years ago, human presence was found in South Africa or existed in South Africa, and this way has been played down. Our book, Free From God, chapter 17, produces and introduces another book, Black Roots Signs by Elder Modi Moncho, which elaborates and shows the 78 trillion year Earth life. And that book is very clear in its proposal of the ancestors of melanin dominant human beings on the earth and the cycles of the earth. So who are these ancestors? Let us discover by way of the oldest activities in Southern Africa, specifically in South Africa, and look at a number of proofs about these people. According to Forbidden Archaeology, the hidden history of the human race by Michael Kramer and Richard L. Thompson, we find that a grooved sphere from the pre-Cambrian era, South African miners found hundreds of these metallic spheres underground, at least one of which has 3 parallel grooves running around its equator. According to scientists, the spheres are found in pyrophyllite or rock, which is mined in Western Transvaal, South Africa, and is dated to about 3 billion years ago. These collective spheres, as one blogger has said, Jockman 1995 says that these orthodoxal objects are composed of a nickel steel alloy which never exists naturally. So the huge question is not about these rocks actually, but is about who was in these Katon zones and who made these metallic spheres, and for what purpose would that person make them. So it is South Africa's history, and it is the ancient out of Africa history and ancient aliens or giant history, where we see the existence of melanin dominant human beings billions of years ago, specifically in South Africa, because of the Katon sphere and Katon zones. There are denialists, of course, like Robert Schoch, who is standing close to a huge giant's footprint near Mpuluzi in South Africa, but denies and uses his arguments. Then we have Matsieng's footprints on rocks, which were soft at that time, because these pre-geologic periods that we are dealing with are all dominant and are all clear in terms of Earth's history, that it spans across a number of billions and trillions of years and has gone through various cycles. Then the issue of borderless history, against even these denials, shows that the borders of South Africa, like many other borders found all over in the world, were introduced and drawn during the colonial and enslaving moments and times. In this case, South Africa, the borders were shaped by the colonial ambitions of the Dutch as well as the British. But prior to all that, we know that there were ancient cities and a group of giants or aliens known as the Anunnaki. 200,000 years ago in Southern Africa, they built their cities, specifically in South Africa. So that's another fact. So the first printed map of South Africa shows that it was part of an empire that ran across the coastlines. It is very important that the earliest use of pigments and the history of how it was used can also be used to prove the ancient history of South Africa and Southern Africa at the same time. In 2006, archaeologists uncovered evidence that early humans used paint for aesthetic purposes such as body decoration. Pigments and paint grinding equipment believed to be between 350,000 years and 400,000 years old were reportedly found in a cave at Twin Rivers near Lusaka. Rock art and painting found all over South Africa shows evidence of early human cultural practices. These paintings and engravings, some of which date back tens of thousands of years, depict scenes of daily life, animals, spiritual and religious matters of those ancient inhabitants thousands and thousands of years ago, specifically in South Africa. It is important for us to understand that old South Africa is unknown today and is rarely shared, taught or spoken about. For instance, the world's oldest known measuring device, the Lebombo bone, is 35,000 years BCE with 29 lines and is found in Swaziland, Eswatini, in Southern Africa, in South Africa. And there is also the world's oldest mattress that was revealed by archaeologists who discovered this proof of 200,000 years ago bedding material made from grass and ash in South Africa, in the border cave area there. These are the old, this is old South Africa unknown, now being reviewed. Archaeologists who discovered traces in a cave of bedding and grass used for bedding. Now, this issue of human activities, the Lebombo stone and the border cave in South Africa, prove a point that is very, very, very interesting, because it throws many spanners in the theory of Bantu migration. It is important for us to understand that archaeology on the same time brings up evidence, and this evidence is connected to evolution, which we do not buy into. It is very critical then to say Bantu migration that is recorded to have occurred 2000 years BCE from a certain spot in West Africa is debunked by the Lebombo stone, which is 35,000 to 30,000 years found in South Africa, as well as the oldest of all evidences that we can push forward, the 3 billion years old cracked up or balls and spheres that prove civilization and human existence occurred in Southern Africa, in South Africa, 2.8 billion to 3 billion years ago. While at the same time, it is also the old Gorge, the cradle of mankind, and we can go to Botswana. We also see the cradle of mankind, also in Botswana. We know from tradition that we have got Tanganyika. Tanga means the beginning, Nika means the earth and humanity. All this proves a point that it's all over the shore. The origins of human beings can be discovered everywhere, because of cycles of long periods of time. Did men evolve in South Africa too, or was created in South Africa? What we know from modern biology tells us a number of factors that scientifically the black woman is the only organism that possesses the mitochondrial DNA that has all the variations possible for every different kind of human being on this earth. Another fact that is very, very important is that during the early stages of fetal development, it is clear that every fetus is anatomically and phenotypically female. And then another SRY gene appears. And then when it appears, it becomes the sex determining region on the Y part of the SRY gene. This is proof that evolution didn't occur, but a clear plan and a clear way is there of how human beings were created and they did not evolve. Humanity's cradle, according to many other scholars, using statistical analysis, shows that the Komani Bushmen of South Africa have the greatest genetic variation and are most likely to be the source population from which all other human populations emerged. This is one of the proofs of many emergence of human beings in and around Africa. Today, South Africa is home to diverse ethnic groups, each with its own language, culture, history, and story of its migration. But the truth is there were many, many migrations in and around Africa, inclusive of the old South Africa that is unknown today. Because the oldest human activity, the likes of the Klekdop spheres, the Blombos stone, are proof and of revelation of old South Africa, which is unknown. We shall look into all the strong connections of men and dominant human beings and Bantus, that they have a connection to many of these cultural roots, connecting them to the earliest inhabitants of South Africa, as well as their way of life. The modern history is clear, and it shows that the migration came from Southern Africa up north, but there is also the understanding that people migrated from various places, inclusive of Hamid, West Africa and East Africa and Central Africa to the south at a certain point of time. But there is a lot more to learn, to share, and to say on the old South Africa that is unknown. Its heroes, its clans, its totems, and the ancient impetus to the spirituality of ancient Southern Africa is very clear. It is important, therefore, for us to know that ancient civilization in Southern Africa included the oldest across the whole range of human history. And most probably because of the Katon spheres and Katon occurrences, it's much more likely that that was the place where the original ancestors may have settled. We say may have settled and emerged. We shall deal with all the other Southern African tribes in future videos. The Twa, the Basarwa, who are called the Bushmen, the Zulu, the Venda, the Xhosa, the Tswana, Bapedi, Bagaranga, the Ndebeles. We shall deal with these people in a future video. For more information, if you want to work with Marifado, send us an email on join@marifado.com. Till we meet again, your manager Topi, Prisha Rabbi LM Mjakanja says, old South Africa is unknown. Amen.